the premier sports talk radio, it's Tony's Takes.
Here we go.
Welcome back to another great episode of Tony's Takes live right here on YouTube for the best show in sports talk radio. It's Tony's Takes, and of course, sitting next to me is my co-host Jimmy D. Jim Jam, how are you?
Doing good, Tony. How you doing?
I'm doing great. It's going to be another exciting week of sports talk radio right here on YouTube, and if you're as everyone is climbing into the show, please make sure to subscribe to us on YouTube and double-click the notification bell. That way you get notified every time we go live. In addition, if you're listening to this on Apple Podcasts, this means that means you're listening to the recorded version of the show. Please leave a 5-star review. All 5-star reviews will be read on the show. That is a Tony guarantee from me. So leave a 5-star review on Apple Podcasts, and we will read it out loud here on the show. And of course, we'll be monitoring the live chat, so please make sure to put your takes and questions in the live chat, and we will answer them as the show continues on. On today's episode, we're talking all things college basketball. That's right, it's one shining moment. It's March Madness. Jim and I have decided that we are going to give you our picks for the bracket. We're going to put them up on the big screen for those watching on YouTube. More of a reason for you to tune in if you're not a YouTube subscriber. And we will be going through each one of our picks, and we will be discussing little blurb, why we picked the team, our thoughts on the game, and that's it. And then we're going to move on. It's going to be super quick, not going to take too long. When I say we're rolling through this, Jim, we are rolling through this.
I'll have some hurry up. Don't worry.
He'll have some hurry up. In addition to that, we're going to talk about St. Bonaventure real quick, winning the Atlantic 10 title. Jim was right. He picked St. Bonaventure. I picked VCU. They lost. However, I still think VCU is the most dangerous A10 team, and you'll see that when we go to pick our brackets. After a little college talk, we are going to move on over to, it's still going to be basketball. We're going to move on over to the Sixers, and we're going to talk about what the Sixers lost to the Bucks last night, what it meant to you, the fan, and to us, your humble analysts. And we're going to talk about if this Embiid situation is something to worry about. Spoiler alert, I don't think it's something that Sixers fans are really going to fret over or really should. I think it's actually a good thing, and Jim and I are going to go into that. Finally, we're going to wrap up I'm so excited. We're going to wrap up today's episode with Carson Wentz talk and some Phillies spring training updates from Jim. You know, Jim always gives us the updates around the Phillies, and as the season approaches, we'll be talking about them a lot more. Got to save some room for our fighting Phils at the end of the episode. Jim, do you want to get into the A10 tournament real quick, or do you want to get into your picks?
Yeah, let's start the show off with me, earning my just due, I think me picking St. Bonnie's against the grain last week, I think that deserves some sort of applause, some sort of cheer or something, there it is.
There's your cheer.
Yes, thank you, Tony. So what's that? So I won the football season, and I picked the A10 winner.
Uh-oh, live studio audience has turned on Jim.
Now we're going to March Madness. And we'll see if I can do the three-peat.
Okay, we'll see. I'm going to say this real quick about the A10 tournament. Congratulations to St. Bonaventure. I know that the fans of St. Bonaventure have we're reconnected. Hopefully the fans of Tony's Takes didn't hear that gap in anything, but if they did, my apologies. Some of the downfall of doing live radio. However, as I was going to go back, St. Bonaventure fans, super excited for them. They deserved it. This team's really good. I really think if St. Bonaventure gets two guys, I know Schmidt doesn't do a deep rotation, but if St. Bonaventure gets two more guys, Jim, all these guys are returning seniors. Ton of graduate transfers. You only need a guy for one more year. It's not like you're bringing in someone and saying, oh, the next 4 years, this is your team. Grad transfer who wants to do something big, come to St. Bonaventure. You need only 2 of those kind of players added to this roster. Top 15 team next year.
Sure, and we're talking about the portal this week, right? This past week.
530 athletes are in it now.
There's like a lot of opportunity for St. Bonaventures.
100%. And I just want to say this, George Mason, we're going to talk about George Mason real quick, get it out of the way, fired their coach, Dave Paulson. I'm on the A10 Talk podcast. The George Mason fans have always been talking about Paulson being, I don't know, not fired, but at least on the hot seat. But now he's been fired. And my question going forward is, does Phil Martelli take Fordham or George Mason? I don't think he's going to get either of those jobs, but it's funny to think, of course, what happens if Phil Martelli returned to Atlantic 10 and dunk all over St. Joe's? That would just be terrible. That would be terrible for my ego. I think if I was Fordham, Martelli would be my guy because he's older and you need someone who's going to turn around the program instantly, bring him in for 5 years, flip the program around, and then you bring in a young guy to take over for him. Martelli's, he's like Patino. He could be talented enough to really jumpstart a new school. However, from a coaching standpoint, I think George Mason is a more desirable place. It's a state school. They have a bigger arena. They're in D.C. I just think that George Mason has a lot more opportunity. If the right coach comes by, they can really be good. However, there's one specific George Mason fan, who I'm not going to name, who is always talking about Lang being fired for St. Joe's. And I just want to say, for all the time, when producer Tommy was on the show, he said, all the George Mason fans who don't know anything. Now I'm the one who gets to talk about George Mason and 1.5 years into their rebuild, get to question their coaching decisions, which should just be a very fun time.
Not to mention, Tony, another great thing about George Mason is Fairfax has great weather pretty much any time that we've been down there. I always experience just bright sunny days. So hopefully Phil can enjoy the sun.
Hopefully George Mason has bright sunny days.
Why go to Fordham? I mean, it's going to be cold. It's never fun up there.
Smaller stadium.
Go down south.
This is true. Okay, Jim, time for your picks. Hopefully you're looking at the screen so you can see your picks. Are you watching it on YouTube live?
I am watching on YouTube, but
you
also
you have the image in front of your face.
I have the image as well. Yeah.
Okay, let's roll through it. Give me your picks.
All right, so we're going to go west down to east, then south down to Midwest. Okay, so Gonzaga versus the play-in. Of course, I got Gonzaga going in. Are you going to go with yours, or am I just rolling through all mine?
You're going to roll through all of yours, and so this is how we're going to do it. You're going to roll through all of your picks, and if one jumps out to me, I'm going to say why, and that's what I want you to describe.
Okay.
So
Oklahoma versus Missouri. Got Missouri going.
Okay.
Over them. Creighton versus UCSB. I got Creighton. Big fan of Creighton this year. Virginia versus Ohio. Got Virginia. USC versus play-in. I have the play-in beating USC.
Why?
I just always like an 11 seed going over a 6. I feel like that's one that everybody thinks, it's a 6 seed that they're going to just automatically dominate them. I love Wichita as well. Like historically, I've loved the way that they played in the NCAA tournament. So that's another reason why I think they might just be like an off 11 seed. They could actually be higher.
Okay.
Historically. Kansas, obviously I'm taking them the next game. I got Oregon over VCU. I don't think that A10 teams play well against Oregon. That's another one. Because I remember sitting in our dorm watching St. Joe's lose to Oregon. Didn't like that.
You were too cool to come to Woodbine for the watching party.
Yes. Way too cool. Iowa over Grand Canyon. That's a great story for Grand Canyon, but Iowa. Taking Michigan. St. Bonnie's over LSU because I'm riding the Bonnies this year.
Okay.
Georgetown over Colorado just because I think Georgetown's got some momentum, and I think that Patrick Ewing is maybe a good coach. I don't know.
Maybe.
Yeah.
It seems like he is a good coach, but okay.
Florida State. Then I got BYU, Texas, UConn, Alabama.
Wait, we'll go back. Why UConn over Maryland?
There's no
reason. Thought.
Yeah,
you just did it.
That one I picked. I don't know. I just liked UConn. I looked at their I think UConn has better defense than Maryland. I was looking at their comparison, the side by side, because it's too many teams to try and keep track. So I just looked it up real quick at what ESPN gives you, and then it looked like UConn played better defense than Maryland through the year. So, and they had more better opponents and stuff too. So, and they had a better record against the top 25 or something. So I like that.
Okay. And then Alabama over Iona, which you said.
Yep.
Okay.
All right. So I got Baylor, then North Carolina.
Mm-hmm.
Then I have Winthrop over Villanova.
You don't like how Villanova they're down 2 players.
Yeah, that really bothers me. I know that like anybody else would say, "Oh, it's the tournament. Villanova's going to come together and play." I don't know. I don't know about this. They lost 4 of their last 5, and they don't really seem like they're the same team since that.
Okay.
I got Purdue, Texas Tech, Arkansas, Virginia Tech. Now I picked Virginia Tech as an upset just because there needs to be some upsets.
I agree.
Ohio State.
There has to be upsets. There's no way it's going to be chalk.
Yeah, exactly. I got Illinois over Drexel. You hear that eviction night? I got Loyola Chicago.
Okay.
Tennessee, Oklahoma, Syracuse over San Diego. Again, that's a historic pick.
You got to go with Jim Boeheim.
Yeah, that's
you
a historic
can't
pick.
say no to him. And the Syracuse was just in. They were just like, they're in. People thought they were a bubble team, and nope, Syracuse is in.
Yeah, exactly. We got West Virginia. Then I have Rutgers, because why not with the Scarlet Knights? Why not? And then Houston.
Okay. Let's go to your Sweet 16 picks.
Sweet 16. All right.
So you have Gonzaga over Missouri.
Yep. So I have Gonzaga over Missouri.
Makes sense.
Creighton over Virginia. Again, I'm really riding Creighton. I
get
watched a lot of them because my fiance's grandpa loves Villanova, or like loves to watch Villanova. So I watched a lot of Creighton just through the season, and I really like Zagorowski. I think he's a phenomenal player, and I think he can take them kind of far.
Okay.
I have Kansas over Wichita, which is who I'm presuming is going to be in. Then I have Iowa over Oregon.
Okay.
Michigan over St. Bonnie's.
Okay.
Florida State over Georgetown.
Okay.
Texas over BYU.
Yep.
And then Alabama over UConn.
Yep. I think all those games make sense. Next,
I have Baylor over North Carolina.
Yep.
Which, by the way, let me just put something out there. I do think Wisconsin could beat North Carolina in the first round. That was a really hard pick for me.
I don't know. Wisconsin really struggles to score. I think North Carolina is a no-brainer.
Sure. I just think it's well within the realm of possibilities. That's all. I have Purdue over Winthrop. Texas Tech over Arkansas. And then Ohio State over Virginia Tech.
Yep. I like going with Big 12 teams over SEC. I think Big 12's better. Okay.
Sure. I have Illinois over Loyola.
I just want to say this about Ohio State. Virginia Tech could be that's an upset circle right there for me.
Yes.
Is if Virginia Tech plays Ohio State, Virginia Tech's good enough to be in the Elite Eight.
It's not unheard of.
Yeah.
For that to happen.
Okay, Illinois
over Loyola. I got Tennessee over Oklahoma. Then I have Syracuse again upsetting another team, West Virginia.
That's one is going to be a very interesting defensive matchup if it happens.
Sure, yeah.
2-3 zone versus the full press. I'm going to have to disagree with you on that, but we won't talk about that till my bracket.
Okay. I got Houston over Rutgers.
Okay. Now we're into your Elite Eight. Gonzaga versus Kansas.
I got Gonzaga. Oh, no. Gonzaga versus Creighton. Right?
Oh, true. True.
So, yes, I have Gonzaga over Creighton, and then I have Kansas over Iowa, which I just like the Jayhawks, just because I like the Jayhawks. So.
Okay, let's finish out this region. Gonzaga versus Kansas.
I got Gonzaga.
Okay. Michigan versus Florida State.
Michigan.
Why? That's, for me, a guaranteed upset.
You think so?
Oh, Michigan's a fraud team.
I don't know. I think it's going to be a close game.
Pause.
Again, these are things that I'm just like,
yeah.
I took the ESPN and I was like, okay, maybe this could be an upset, but at the same time,
Livers or Livers, he's out. I mean, I just think Florida State's a better team. But anyway, Texas versus Alabama.
Texas.
I like that. I'm a big Shaka Smart fan. And then you have Texas over Michigan to get to the Final Four.
Yes.
I like that. I think that's a good pick. I like Texas is a very interesting pick. I think people better not forget about them is my point. Okay, Baylor versus Purdue.
Purdue.
That's another interesting one. I think Baylor's a solid one. I think people are putting a lot of faith in Gonzaga. Baylor might be the team that you should put the most faith in. And I think people aren't talking enough about it.
I really like to just throw some weird upsets in because I'd really like to aim for like that perfect bracket one day. Just hoping, fingers crossed that maybe my craziness will pay off.
Texas Tech and Ohio State.
I got Ohio State.
And then you have Ohio State going to the Final Four.
Yes.
Over Purdue.
Yep.
Okay, Illinois versus Tennessee.
Tennessee.
Good pick. Tennessee really impressed me when they played St. Joe's.
Yeah, and also a lot of people think that, yes, I was thinking of that game, but also a lot of people think that Illinois is just going to like ride their way all the way to the Final Four, and I don't think it's going to be that easy. So
Tennessee has great size. I really like Tennessee. Syracuse versus Houston.
Houston.
I think they're a fraudulent team like Michigan.
You think so? So you think Syracuse over Houston in that scenario?
Well, in that scenario, maybe not.
Okay.
In other scenarios in my brain, Houston doesn't make it past the round of 32, but...
And then I got Tennessee over Houston in the Final Four.
So you have Gonzaga versus Texas, and then you have Gonzaga beating Texas.
Yes.
And then Ohio State versus Tennessee, and you have Tennessee going...
Over Ohio State.
Okay, and then you have your winner.
Gonzaga.
Gonzaga.
With my final score of 77-68. Now... That's
a good final score.
My reason is Gonzaga, they've been number one for the whole season for a reason. And most of the time that's like it's not crazy for that number one team to just go to the championship game. So I think they're there for a reason, and I think they get the job done. I think they've deserved it for a long time. I've watched this team, I've watched Gonzaga go deep into tournaments for, what seems like the last decade or last 15 years. I've seen them go into the tournament a lot, and I've always slightly been a fan of them. So I think it's their turn.
Interesting. I agree. I mean, I agree in the fact that Gonzaga should be taken very serious.
And it's a nice Jesuit school.
Don't get me started on the Jesuits, Jim. I forget that they're Jesuit. Those West Coast teams. There's one problem with your bracket. 3 seeds notoriously, every year go to the championship game. There's always a 3 seed.
That's
and
true.
You have 0 3 seeds, and I think that's going to bite you in the butt.
You think so? Well, this is a weird year, though.
This is true.
This is a strange year. Why can't a 5 seed do it,
This isn't the average year. Okay, time for Tony to bring up his bracket. It's a beautiful one, and I didn't get a big photo like Jim did. I'm doing this. I'm going to do mine by region. So I'm going to get us down to my Final Four, and then we're going to switch to the region. So this is my West. I have Gonzaga over the play-in game going and moving on to the next round. I have Missouri over Oklahoma. I like 9 seeds over 8s. Creighton over UCSB. That's a no-brainer. Creighton's a good team. Virginia over Ohio. No-brainer. Virginia's got great defense. Wichita over USC. I think USC's a fraud team. I never trust Pac-12 teams. They've never done anything. It's like they barely make it to the Final Four. It doesn't happen that often.
Yeah, sure. And I like that pick as well.
You said it, yeah.
I agreed with that.
Kansas over Eastern Washington. Kansas is a real threat team. VCU over Oregon. Think Oregon's fraudulent. I think VCU is a super dangerous team, and they're going to win at least one game in this tournament. St. Bonaventure beat VCU because they had seen them before. VCU's defense is one of the best in the country. No one's seen a defense like this, and they're not going to be ready for it. And VCU's got great basketball tradition. They know how to win in the tournament. Iowa over Grand Canyon. That's no-brainer. And then I have Gonzaga over Missouri. Another no-brainer. Gonzaga is just that good. I'd love when the upset happens, though, and I'm wrong. Creighton over Virginia. I agree. Big East team. Creighton, they look strong. Yeah, they lost to Georgetown. It was unfortunate, but I still think they're a good team. They're clearly the most talented in the Big East now that Villanova has all these injuries. Kansas over Wichita. That's a no-brainer. Kansas, better team. And I think that Bill Self knows how to win a game. Kansas doesn't lose to the Sweet 16. That's just how it goes. Iowa over VCU. Luke Garza, very good. I think he's going to play well. I think Iowa's here to prove something. And they've played in the Big Ten, which is much more difficult. Gonzaga over Creighton. Gonzaga is just a better team. Iowa over Kansas. I know that's lame, 2 over 3, but I like Luke Garza. I really think he's going to put a team on his back and really try to show something. And then I have Gonzaga going to the Final Four. Okay, this is the East. Yeah, this is the East region, I believe. Michigan over the play-in game, no brainer. St. Bonaventure over LSU. LSU is a dangerous team. They're very good, but I think St. Bonaventure wins. Georgetown over Colorado. Georgetown is riding the wave. Florida State over UNC. Florida State's a good team. BYU over MS. Actually, no. I thought I put Scratch that, folks. I have Michigan State, UCLA moving on to the next round, not BYU. I think that's just an error. Ignore that. Texas over Abilene Christian?
Abilene Christian.
Abilene Christian? It's a lame name.
They always make the tournament, though.
UConn over Maryland. Jim, this is my question, why I asked. I like Big Ten teams. And this is another one where I'm like, did I make the right decision? I should go back and change it.
UConn's been pretty good this year, though.
I think I'm going to ride with UConn. And then Alabama, no brainer. I have St. Bonaventure beating Michigan. I can't come out here and say Michigan's a fraudulent team and then they make it all the way to the Elite Eight. They're a fraud team. St. Bonaventure is a seasoned team. They play very hard. St. Bonaventure. Georgetown over Florida State. Florida State seems like the rational choice. And 99 out of 100 times I go, yeah, Florida State. But this is just one of those games where it's like Georgetown just had a magical Big East run. They're playing really hard. They've got great size. And I think Georgetown can really be that upset team that everyone's talking about. Texas over BYU. Love Shaka Smart. Alabama over UConn. Alabama's a good team. Do not think that they're not a good team because they're the SEC. However, I have Texas beating them because I think Shaka Smart's that good, and I think Texas is that good. And then I have Georgetown beating St. Bonaventure. I think this team's riding its way to the top. However, I have Texas beating Georgetown finally and making their way to the Final
Wow,
Four.
Tony. We both have, that's 2 out of our Final 4 that are the same.
This one's different, right? You don't have Ohio State.
I have Ohio State.
Oh, no.
Tony, we're going to be playing for the tiebreak.
Okay, this one's a speedy one. I'm not even going to talk about my first round. Baylor and North Carolina. Baylor's a good team. I believe in Baylor. They're a good number 1 seed. They're moving on. North Carolina beats Wisconsin to make the game against Baylor. Wisconsin can't score. Keep it simple. Don't overthink it. Villanova beats Winthrop. Purdue beats North Texas. And then Purdue beats Villanova because I think Villanova is good enough to win at least one game. But after that, it's done. Texas Tech over Utah State. Arkansas over Colgate, pretty simple. I'm riding Texas Tech over Arkansas, a pick that Jim also had. And then I'm doing Ohio State over Virginia Tech. Jim, I was so tempted to pick Virginia State. And then actually, I know for a fact, in another bracket, I have Virginia State making it to the Elite Eight because I really think they're just like that kind of sleeper team. However, watching Ohio State in the Big Ten tournament, they're a real team. They're more of a real team than Illinois.
Sure, and I think that there's a reason why they're a 2 seed. I think that, honestly, I do think you're right. Illinois is overrated as a 1 seed. That doesn't mean that Drexel's going to beat them at Action Night. But Ohio State's the real deal. And there's a reason why we have them going to the Final Four.
Yep. And then I have Ohio State over Texas Tech and Ohio State over Baylor because I think I can only muster one seed in my bracket, making it to the Final Four.
Yeah, me too.
Can't have more than one. This is the interesting one. This is the one where I really think I have a perfect bracket down here. I have Loyola Chicago beating Georgia Tech. That's a no-brainer. I have Illinois beating Drexel. No-brainer. I have Loyola beating Illinois. No one's giving Loyola Chicago enough credit. They are going to beat Illinois. Tennessee over Oregon State, because I like Tennessee. Liberty over Oklahoma State. Liberty is a good program. Another team where people just don't throw this away because Liberty's in a smaller conference. They can beat guys, and they're going to beat Oklahoma State. And then I have Tennessee over Liberty. Next, I have Syracuse over San Diego State. As we talked about, Jim, you cannot... Boeheim is someone you don't think... He's not leaving after one game.
He's never out.
Never out.
Yep.
I mean, I already know. This is either perfect or Syracuse destroys the whole thing by going to the Final Four. I mean, that's how it usually goes.
Yeah.
West Virginia over Morehead State. Rutgers over Clemson. Houston over Cleveland. I have West Virginia beating Syracuse. I like West Virginia. I like the press defense. I have Rutgers over Houston. Houston is a fraudulent team, Jim, and
Whoa.
Rutgers is pretty good.
Sound the alarm.
I like
Rutgers is
good.
pretty good this year.
It's a Big Ten school, and this is their year. And I wanted so badly to put Rutgers over West Virginia. However, I'm riding West Virginia. I'm riding Loyola Chicago. Both of them are going to be in the Elite Eight. And then I'm going to take West Virginia over Loyola Chicago. Jim, I have 2 3 seeds. 2 3 seeds in my Final Four.
Wow.
Get ready. We're pulling up my Final Four now. This is Tony's Final Four and national champion. Gonzaga over Texas. I so wanted to put Texas in the finals. I so wanted to have Shaka Smart play in the finals. But I think Gonzaga is too good.
So who's the opponent against Gonzaga?
Texas. Oh, for the next one?
For the championship.
West Virginia beats Ohio State. It is
Wow.
a Gonzaga-West Virginia championship game. I think this is a unique one that has a real shot of happening.
Tony, you might have convinced me that you're going to win the bracket tournament.
West Virginia is a sneaky team.
Although our intern might give us a run.
The intern has 0 picks. And then our final scores weren't too off. I had 75-69. Gonzaga wins.
Wow, really close scores.
And that does it. And I think that one deserves cheering. Thank you. You're all too kind.
Now, if you're out there and you're hearing these picks and you have something to say about it, write it in the chat. Comment in the chat.
Give us your number one upset.
Yeah, tell us your upset. Or, you can send it to the mailbag. Now, that's at what,
Tony'sTakes.1851@gmail.com. Send us your bracket. We'd love to see it. Jim, we have breaking news.
Let's go.
Jim, did you hear about Carson Wentz?
So,
Did you hear him talking about the Eagles?
I didn't
Trash talking your Philadelphia Eagles?
I didn't get to hear it today. I heard on the way over here, I heard on the radio, our guy, Howard Eskin, going off about it.
Our guy?
Yeah, our favorite, Howard Eskin.
Hold on, folks. Hold on. Breaking news, Howard Eskin is Jimmy's guy. I never knew this. Jimmy turns on Howard Eskin every Saturday morning to listen to the old timer. As him and Angelo Cataldi yelled at each other about nothing. Absolutely nothing.
Nothing.
Breaking news,
Great
Jim.
radio entertainment. Great radio entertainment. Not as good as Ray Diddy, though. Ray Diddy's my guy.
Do you want to hear what Carson Wentz said?
Yeah, I got to hear it. Because, like I said, I heard it on the radio all the way over here. And I'm like, man, I got to hear this, but I never had a chance to.
Well, here's Carson Wentz talking about leaving the Eagles.
Yeah, I mean, after the season, obviously a lot of conversations with my agent and back and forth and those types of things. And, it wasn't the ending that everyone envisioned, not how I envisioned it, all of those things. But, I'm not going to delve too much into those conversations. But obviously this is where we're at. We're excited for this fresh start and to be in such a great place as this. And so, that's really all I got to say on that one.
He says too much.
So, we haven't heard from him
In a while.
since after the Green Bay Packers game.
You haven't heard that beautiful voice.
He hasn't said anything to anyone.
And what's your first reaction?
My first reaction is that he's hesitant to say anything, and probably for good reason. There's probably too much behind the scenes that he doesn't even, like he says he doesn't want to delve into it. And that makes sense.
Stephen Daniels says Wentz is a expletive word.
Ooh, that's not in the chat, is it?
Oh, it's in the chat. And I thought I had put on the censors. Can we get the moderators in the chat, please?
It didn't make it in the chat. It's just in your chat.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Big Tech wins again, Steven. You think I'm a Karen?
Big Tech's even more.
Big Tech's even more. They're censoring you.
Yeah, I wish that he would actually tell us something that's going on and actually let us know what's going on inside that mind, but he seems pretty locked down there.
At least I'm safe inside my mind.
He seems afraid to be vulnerable.
Aren't we all?
No, I'm pretty open to being vulnerable.
Let's hear him talk about Carson improving.
I think over the course of any year, I go back at the end of every season, watch tape, and say, okay, what can I improve on? What can get better? And there's always little
How about
things,
taking
there's
criticism?
bigger things. There's a
That's
lot of
something you
things
can
every
improve
year
on.
that you're like, okay, this is what I want to focus on this offseason. So not to dive into details of that, but there's definitely things that, you watch and you say, okay, this is where I can improve. And I'm going to dive head first this offseason into improving those things, those areas of my game, and keep trying to become the best player I can be. Last year didn't go personally the way I envisioned it, the way the team wanted it to go, all of those things. But, you live and you learn from those things. And, hopefully we can be better next year.
You know what's the one thing he really focused on? Himself. That was the one thing he focused on, Jim. And not in the way of football, but in the way of making sure that he got his money, that he got out of town, that he wasn't going to stay here. So, yeah, he did focus on something. It was himself.
Well, the whole time we talk about that the team needs a leader, right? And what leader just shuts down?
He led the way right out the door.
He just shuts down right after he gets replaced. Like, why wouldn't you go out and you say, like, I'm going to work really hard. I'm going to try and fit this new role and, try and get myself back into the starting position. Why wouldn't he do that? But no, he's got to shut down. He's got to probably whine to whoever he has to whine to. And then, like you said, pack his bags and leave town.
Lead the way. Lead the way out of Philadelphia.
There's no way the locker room was, like,
behind
happy.
him.
Yeah, there's no way that any of this was working.
Jim, I guess you just shot down our opportunity to interview him. He's not coming on the show after those harsh words.
Well, he is in Indianapolis.
He's probably going to be at the tournament. I can't wait to see him on the sidelines for the tournament.
Oh, my gosh.
It's in Lucas Oil Field. It's probably be hanging out. Stephen Daniels goes, how about there's too much to improve on? He lost the respect of his teammates. He did. I don't think that Stephen's wrong on any of those points. Let's talk about, speaking of teammates, Stephen and Jimmy, let's hear him talk about Jalen Hurts.
I don't. Jalen and I had a good relationship, and I wish the kid nothing but the best. I think he's got a lot of ability. I was impressed with how quickly he kind of grasped, the offense and really understood things and how well he did. Obviously, I would have loved to have been the guy playing the year out, and there's no mistake in that. But that's not how it unfolded. And, I got a lot of respect for him, and it's just the way it unfolded. There's a lot of things that had to fall into place for all these things to go down and for me to be here. But I said it earlier, I'm going to beat it to death. God has a plan. He's got a perfect plan, and I don't, I can argue with it sometimes, but it ain't going to get me anywhere. So
Hurts did such a good job. He took your job.
Wait, did he just call Jalen Hurts a kid?
Yes.
Last time I checked, they're like 5 years apart. What is that? Why is he calling him a kid?
Come here, boy.
I guess he just demands respect from other people. He just has to have this power. He's power hungry, it feels like.
My question is when Wentz says God has a plan, is it predestination or is it providence? That's really going to bug me. We're not going to get into the theological aspect of it, but there's a very big difference. And I don't think you should go looking at it thinking oh, this is supposed to happen. No, it happened to you, and move on. But I think he will move on.
Your actions aren't justified by just saying that it's God's plan.
Yeah,
you
that's
still have to have
right.
your...
That's I guess my whole point. It's it didn't work out. To put it into perspective, it's Hurts beating you out. Okay, that might not be something that you can control, but what your actions, that is you,
yeah,
right?
Exactly.
And
how
I
you
think
respond to it.
That's exactly what I'm thinking, Jim.
Yeah, well, it's the same. It's the same saying that everybody says. It's 10. Life is 10% what happens to you, and 90% how you respond to it.
Yep.
And that's exactly why he's in Indianapolis now, and who knows how he's going to play. He's banged up. He got injured 3 times in 3 seasons, so we'll see how he actually plays.
He'll find his way. I actually, believe it or not, I think he's actually going to play well. And I think it's going to be the classic Eagles fans look back and they see a guy who's doing well after they trade him. And it's going to be funny. It's going to be funny to sit in this room with Jim and to see him literally clenching his fists in anger as Carson goes 5-2 for the first 7 games in September and October.
It's okay.
It's going to happen.
Yeah, well, he's going to need Nick Foles to come in and finish the season for him, so.
That's if they, hey, wouldn't that be funny if the Colts took Nick Foles?
Oh yeah, that would be right up Carson's alley.
So Jim, you want to talk about, speaking of quarterbacks, Deshaun Watson? You had put this in the chat, and then the news broke today around Deshaun Watson.
Sure, yeah. So,
and I don't even want to talk about that.
Yes.
Like the allegations, like they're out there.
Right.
I want to talk about how that impacts the trade.
Yeah, exactly. So I had somebody behind the scenes texting me saying Deshaun Watson plus 3 first-rounders and Jalen Hurts.
Mm-hmm.
Like, is that what you would? I said, no way. No way. I wouldn't do that. Like, first off, the market is always way less than what everybody predicts it to be. Everybody always thinks, oh, it's going to be 3 first-rounders, and then it ends up being like 1 first-rounder and 2 second-rounders, and then a third in like 5 years from now or something. Like the Jalen Ramsey trade back a few years ago. Everybody thought it was going to be multiple firsts, and it ended up being like 1 first and a second or something. And it doesn't take that much to get the guy that you really want. So, that being said, the news breaks today. Allegations against Deshaun Watson. Now you're looking at much less for him, supposedly. If these allegations are true, or even just, when rumors come out, the market will drop. The value of the player will drop as allegations come out. So, we could see less, he could be on the market for much less than what we were anticipating beforehand. And I don't, obviously Hurts will probably have to go because they're going to want a quarterback to replace Deshaun Watson. Or maybe it will take somebody else, some other pieces, someone that we can offload with a high contract, because the Eagles seem to have not much of a gap with the salary cap. Actually, I'm pretty sure we're over still. So, that's where that's what we could see with these allegations coming out. Could lower his stock, and maybe the Eagles could take him. We really do. We need to offload some contract, some salary cap, and he could end up being our franchise quarterback.
I think you make the trade, and I think that this actually frees him up. That now he's 2 things can happen for Houston. Yeah, we're gonna keep you because now you have 0 leverage,
sure.
And no one's gonna take you with this hanging over your head. Unfortunately, regardless of what they're able to prove, whatever, it doesn't matter what they prove inside, outside of court, whatever happens. It's the public opinion is all that matters in the NFL. And it doesn't help, especially for trade demands.
So here's one thing that comes to mind.
Mm-hmm.
Michael Vick.
Well, he had to step away from football.
Yes. Well, he had to go to prison.
Right, and that's the thing. Like,
we
don't know if this isn't a criminal charge. This is civil.
Sure. So but again, the Eagles can be a what do they call a sanctuary city? Philadelphia could be a sanctuary city for Deshaun Watson. He could come in, he could be safe and recuperate his career if the allegations prove to be true or something or whatever. And Antonio Brown, another example. He was away from the sport for a little bit and came back in.
This is true.
But I don't see Deshaun Watson missing any of his career. I see him continuing to play through this. This isn't going to be something that stops him.
Stephen Daniels goes, Watson will not play in Philadelphia.
Well, that's your opinion.
And then the news breaks tomorrow that they trade for him. No, that would be... I think there are better teams to trade for Watson and make a legitimate impact.
Like who?
The Bears.
Sure. The Bears.
The Saints.
Speaking of former Bears, did you see that the Bills signed Mitchell Trubisky?
Yeah, as a backup.
Yeah.
I thought it was a good move.
Yeah,
as long as you don't overpay the guy.
He kind of reminds me of like a Nick Foles type,
Kind of, yeah.
And
Trubisky had way more starting opportunities as a younger player.
Yes.
Than Nick Foles. So that's the difference. Jim, I think that's enough. You said you put Patriots sign a whole bunch of ex-Eagles players. Anyone worth noting?
Jalen Mills.
That is worth noting.
Yeah, the Green Goblin is now going to be the blue and silver Goblin.
Will he dye his hair blue and silver?
Probably.
Interesting. Jim, let's go to Sixers. Give me your thoughts on Joel Embiid because in the loss to the Bucks, because I have a interesting spin on the situation for the Sixers.
Okay, so the loss with the Bucks.
Brutal.
I think.
Let me just say, brutal when they play so well in the beginning.
Yes. What did the Bucks have? Like 32 points in the first half?
Yeah, the Sixers were up by 19 by the half.
So that is brutal. We also, what did we say before last week? Doc Rivers said Tobias needs to has to make 50 points a game or something like that, or 50 points in that game last week, and he didn't. And that's where we're missing that guy that was supposedly snubbed as an all-star, who's going to have all this time to be the all-star with Embiid out, and he's not playing. And he is playing, but he's not playing to the level that we want him to play. Mm-hmm. It's like scoring seems to go down in these games. I think regulation yesterday was 93-93. Yeah,
that was pretty low.
We beat the Knicks 99-96. The scoring has gone down since Embiid has gone out, and it's blatantly obvious.
But the defense intensity has gone up. We're holding teams back. It's not like they're scoring 120 on us.
Yes, you got Giannis only scoring 22 against us, and I believe it was only like 8 points in the first half. Giannis did not have anything, so I was pretty impressed by that. There was a lot of good stuff, and I think with Embiid, it's so easy to go down that path. Oh, with Embiid, we beat the Bucks.
You can't go down that path.
Yeah.
Let me just cut you off at the head.
I'm with you. I think that isn't that's just settling. That's just settling for, we're always going to have Embiid. Well, you know what? Embiid does get hurt. And in playoffs, he might not even play every game in the playoffs. I'd love him to, but we have to, settle our expectations. This guy he's been missing games every player misses games, but he seems to miss more. He's a big guy, and he has a bad back. So he's going to miss some games, and you're going to have to get used to that. And we can't just always settle for the excuse, if we had Embiid. Because now we're tied for the 1 seed. Now we're tied with the Nets.
I don't know if we're going to get the 1 seed.
I don't think so either. But
which is a problem, because you were supposed to, us getting the 1 seed means the Bucks and the Nets do a dogfight before they see the Sixers in the Eastern Conference Championship.
And the Bucks are only a game and a half back now, so we could slide to 3. And guess what? The Heat have climbed their way all the way up to 4, and they're not going to stop.
Now you're going a little too far for me.
The Heat are not going to stop, Tony.
Stop,
Tony.
Stop. Now you're pissing me off, Jim.
They're only 6
now
back.
You're pissing me off. You talk about the Heat. Who cares about the Heat? They're nobody to me. They're nobody. That's a nobody team. I don't want to hear about the Miami Heat. Don't even come into my basement and talk about the Miami Heat. Jim, you have no idea. Fans, you have no idea what Jim just did. I was just scrolling through my phone casually listening to Jim talk, and he says that garbage in my ears.
Tony.
Jim, no. Are you kidding me? This team is nothing. That's a nobody team that nobody cares about. They're old. They're tired. Jimmy Butler's washed up. And you're saying that my Sixers, with a defensive player of the year, with Joel Embiid, an MVP candidate, that team's going to, we got to worry about the Miami Heat. They're creeping on up. You can leave my house now.
If Embiid doesn't
I'm turning off the live stream because you just said that.
If Embiid doesn't play, then why are you hiding behind the defensive player of the year?
He's going to be back in a week. It's a bone bruise, and you're saying that the Heat are going to sneak up on me?
I'm not saying that he's not going to be back in a week. What I am saying is he gets hurt. And
he's not getting hurt again. No.
You can say that, but it's not.
I'm saying
make it true.
How many times on this show we've said things that become true?
Yeah.
I speak things into existence on Tony's takes, and they're not sneaking up on me. You know why? Because the bush they're sneaking up on is as lit as the one in the yard across the way. They're not hiding from me. I can see the Miami Heat. They're coming nowhere near the Sixers team. Are you kidding me?
They're climbing.
Yeah, they can climb all they want. It's going to be like one of those... it's just going to keep... It's going to be a cert... I don't even know how to explain it. But they're not climbing up anything. You're climbing up my craw. Pissing me off. Are you kidding me?
Hey, man, we've been on a slippery slope. I could feel it the whole season.
Okay, the slippery slope argument never works. It's a logical fallacy.
I could feel it.
All know that the slippery slope is... You can never win a law case on a slippery slope, Jim. Let me come into the courtroom. I don't have the People's Court drop set up, but I would have played it if we had it. Don't give me the slippery slope.
I didn't know we were in the courts. I thought we were talking about sports.
We are in the courts of sport. We're in the court of sport. And I rest my case.
Let me just go get my JD at Villanova, all right?
Yeah, that's how I know it's useless. Are you kidding me? Let me paint the picture, because Jim, you know why I'm pissed? Because I was optimistic about this team, because I thought the Joel Embiid injury is exactly what we needed. I don't need Joel Embiid focusing on a stupid MVP trophy that doesn't mean anything to a championship. The one thing I care about, folks, is a championship in Philadelphia. I don't care about having an MVP. Who was our last MVP, Jim, for the 76ers?
Would be Allen Iverson.
How many championships did he win?
None.
And why do we fawn over him? Allen Iverson's a nobody too. You know why? He's won nothing.
Well, he was the answer.
No, he answered my question. Is he any good? No. That was the answer.
Well, he did win an Eastern Conference Finals.
Are we talking Eastern Conference Finals? Is that good enough for Eagles fans? Is NFC Championships good enough for Eagles fans? Because last time I checked, they only demand Super Bowls.
Well, some people do protect Andy Reid by saying how many NFC championships he
Well,
won.
they're idiots.
Well, I mean, that they are Eagles fans.
Yeah. Joel Embiid needed the rest. I didn't need him focusing on some MVP trophy that didn't mean anything. I needed him to rest. Think of all these players who didn't have rest because of the All-Star break, and the Miami Heat is a team that didn't have rest. They were always complaining about it, and I think that's going to be a hindrance for them come playoff time. I think it's just they might be catching some rhythm, but come playoff time, that's a long time. They did not get a break. They're going to be a year and a half into basketball. I really think that Joel Embiid resting for a week and a half is what this Sixers team needed. Now, when he comes back, the MVP trophy has been removed from him. What does that mean? Now he can the only thing he can control, we just talked about this with Carson Wentz. You have to be able to control what you can control. And bring an attitude to the team where your actions matter, because that's the only thing that matters, right? The injury, can't control it. But when you come back, when you have only 3 or 4 weeks left in the regular season and you're heading into the playoffs, what can you control? I was the MVP. I know I'm the MVP because I just won the NBA championship. And sure, I didn't win the MVP trophy, but how many MVP trophy winners have won championships in the last 8 years? Not many. Russell Wilson hasn't. Russell Westbrook hasn't. James Harden hasn't.
LeBron has. That's really it.
Yeah. He's the only one. Giannis hasn't.
Yeah.
So I don't want to hear Joel Embiid's an MVP. I'd rather him not focus on getting this stupid award and being well rested for him to prove that he should win the other MVP. You know, just like the year of the Raptors, right? Giannis won MVP of the season. They were the best team by far. Who won the NBA championship and who was the NBA Finals MVP? Kawhi Leonard. Who's a better player, Kawhi Leonard or Giannis? And answer very carefully.
Who's a better player today?
I'm telling you, you need this. You get to choose between either one, and you're going to win a championship with them.
Kawhi.
Exactly.
Kawhi. Yeah.
There we go.
Easily.
Thank you for answering the question correctly.
Yeah. Yeah, no doubt. I'm not a big Giannis fan either. You know that.
Right. And that's why I'm saying, that's why I get fired up. Because I think, and you didn't get me fired up because you don't think Joel Embiid's good, or you don't think that he can be good in the playoffs. What fires me up is that the Miami Heat is a team that we got to worry about. I'm not worried about them. I'm worried about one team in the NBA, Brooklyn Nets. That's it.
They are a big worry.
And maybe the Lakers. Good teams don't worry about the Heat. When they face the Heat, then they can say, we're going to plan for them. But until that happens, I'm not worrying about them. They're not even in my mind. They're an inferior team. I don't want to talk about them. I don't want to hear about them. I don't care.
So you say the Heat haven't taken a break, right?
Correct.
How do you explain the first 15 games of the season?
That was part of it.
Looked like they were taking a break.
Yeah.
I feel like they took a break in the beginning of the season.
And so you think they're just going to get into rhythm now?
Yeah, I do.
I still think playing those games, you could say you was taking a break. You're still showing up to play the game, though.
Okay, yeah, that's fine. Yeah, still time on your feet. Yeah, that makes a lot of sense.
Yeah, like just because you're jumping around, or, the same thing happened to LeBron. I'm not saying it's happened to just the Heat.
It's a lot of
LeBron.
basketball. It's a lot of time.
And the Sixers had way more rest because we got kicked out because the team was garbage.
Well, I do agree with you. The Nets are going to be a big issue. There's no doubt about it. The Blake Griffin signing is it's scary to me.
I don't know about that.
Okay, Embiid will
Harden's scaring me.
Embiid will dominate Blake Griffin. That's fine, but I still think that he's a body that will get more boards than who was in there before? DeAndre Jordan?
Yes.
Yeah, I think that he will still he will play better than DeAndre Jordan. So that's what worries me. He's not Marc Gasol 2 years ago that frightened Embiid,
Yeah.
But he's still somebody that will play hard against Embiid and get physical with him. And that, that scares me a little bit.
You have here in the notes, I want a 2-seed minimum. Jim, I'm going to let you bring us your final thoughts on the Sixers before we go to the Phillies. Do they get the 2-seed minimum, and why?
I do think so, because I am optimistic like you. I do think that Embiid comes back. I don't really think that he gets hurt, but I just say that because I'm cautious about it. We've seen him have an orbital fracture at going into the playoffs. So, yeah.
The mask was sick, though.
It was kind of cool. But so I think we get the 2 seed. I think we hold off the Bucks, but I don't know if we can keep pace with the Nets because they've just been stellar.
Okay. Jim, give us a Phillies preview, any injury updates, anything to worry about as we head through spring training. Folks, I ordered a beautiful, and Jim saw it, old school burgundy Phillies hat. I can't wait to wear it for an episode of Tony's Takes. I also ordered a shirt. I didn't tell Jim, but I'll let him see it when it comes in the mail.
Awesome. I can't wait. So with the Phillies, they played a St. Patrick's Day game yesterday.
And I saw that. They all wore green, both teams.
Most confusing game that you'll ever watch in your entire life.
I will. Can I add real quick? At least it's baseball. It's a little bit easier. You could never do that in basketball.
No way.
At least everyone knows it's like, oh, this is the fielding team, this is the batting team. Like, you still kind of know.
Yeah, everybody would just, if it was basketball, everybody would be like,
it would just be a hot mess.
That's the Celtics, you know? Yeah, and by the way, I'm gonna say it the correct way now.
Okay.
The Boston Celtics.
You can speak in Gaelic if you want.
Okay, so some injuries that are of note. Zach Eflin is now day-to-day with the back flare-up, just from like extra bullpen work. It's nothing really too bad to be concerned with or anything. Spencer Howard is another pitcher that's dealing with the back spasms.
He only played, one game last year?
He played a few games.
Got rocked in all of them.
Yeah, but that's what, when you're a young pitcher, I guess you just have to learn how to get through it.
Yep.
Didi, he was hit in the back of the head by a pitch on Tuesday. I'm not sure if anybody saw that, but they're going to reevaluate with him. I guess he's having like a minor headache, but that's always scary when you see like
a head
the
injury.
Guy that you just signed,
who is by far the best batter on the team.
Yeah, he was so clutch last year. It was awesome,
and he was also like the most consistent too.
Yeah, just exactly when you need him. And then we have Adam Hazley, who has a moderate left groin strain, and that's kind of worrisome because he's a young guy that's kind of coming into his own, and that doesn't, as some of us know, like groin strains, they kind of linger, and that could be up to 2 months that he's still dealing with that, minor pain, but it's still like an issue, so.
How is McCutchen doing? I'm always worried about. He's the one I worry the most about with regards to injuries.
And just like getting old too.
That's part of it. Yeah.
I think he's doing fine right now. I haven't heard anything about him lately.
I'm not going to lie to you, Jim. He's been the one that's kind of disappointed me the most.
How so?
Well, just because, he got the injury the first year he was here, and then the second year, the batting wasn't as good as he's not going to be as good as he wants, but people are always saying, like, oh, yeah, he's like a definite going to be our outfielder. Like, I don't think his role on the team is as secure as people think.
No, I don't think so either. He's almost 35, I think. I'm pretty sure he's almost 35. He only hits about 250, and he's solid in like left field, but he's never going to play center again. He's definitely lost some speed there, especially with the ACL tear. But I will say, I thought his first year was phenomenal. His first at bat as a Philly, he hits a home run out of the park.
Yeah,
and I'm pretty sure he was stealing a lot of bases that year as well. And then, of course, with the Segura, not running out the ball
debacle,
that just ruined the last year and a half.
I know, and they're still trying to figure out who's center field, aren't they?
Yeah, it looks like Scott Kingery is like leading for that position right now.
I'm okay with him.
Yeah, he's fat. You just have to have speed, and Roman Quinn's fast, and he was hitting kind of good at some points last year, but I don't know. There's something about him that he just doesn't pass the eye test as a center fielder.
Bryce Harper has the easiest job in Citizens Bank Park. it is literally it's like the most shallow part of the field.
Sure.
And he just gets to stand there.
Just be like, okay, that one's gone.
Yeah, like if you've ever been to a game, he can tell. He just knows.
Yeah.
It's like I don't have to run. Like the ball's not gonna. The ball, that Phillies right field is so shallow. You know if it's going out or not.
But he always makes a good effort in Citizens Bank.
Oh no, I'm not saying he doesn't try. He does.
No,
it's just like I'm saying from a running standpoint, he has a lot less area to cover.
I just mean in reference to like his past. A lot of people said that he never he wouldn't hustle that much, and even like running the bases, he didn't run out the one time when I think was it him and Papelbon.
It might have been
that got into like a fist fight in the dugout. Yeah,
that's an old Philly, isn't it?
Yeah, and I think like Bryce has kind of embraced like the Philly attitude just to hustle.
The games that we went to, he would always wave to everyone, and people loved him. I think that people still like him. I don't think you turn on sports radio, no one's saying, is Bryce Harper meeting expectations?
Yeah, right.
I think it's more on, I think everyone knows, is it that they know that this team wasn't good because of the bullpen, that nothing had to do with the batting.
Sure.
Like the batting was perfectly fine.
Well, when you average like 7 runs a game or something like that, something ridiculous. It's
and Bryce had some clutch moments. Didi had some clutch moments.
Yeah.
I think if there's two players I'm gonna pick out for I need improvement from, it's McCutchen, which isn't gonna happen because he's older, and Hoskins. From a batting standpoint. I mean, we could talk about pitching till we're blue in the face on Tony Stakes.
Sure, but Hoskins
is the one where it's like, I need him to be a slugger, and I don't know if he'll ever be one. For him to be taking up a first base spot like that.
It's just so weird because he was like the first to 10 home runs, the quickest to 10 home runs in the MLB history or whatever. And now it's just like, where's this guy's head?
I need him to be better than Bryce Harper from a batting standpoint. He's our first baseman. He needs to be hitting home runs more often.
Sure. And an update on Rio Muto, because I want to throw this in real quick. He's now throwing up to 120 feet, which is pretty good. That's just past first base, 30 feet past first base from home. So looks like he's getting his thumb back. And
call me when he can make it to second. That's when I'll be happy.
I think 120 feet. Yeah, he can make it to second.
Jim, that does it for today's episode. That was a good one. I liked it. Thank you for coming on.
It was no problem.
I kind of went brain dead. I forgot what I was going to say.
We had to go quick through that March Madness.
I know some people don't like it, but it comes once a year, folks. You got to talk about March Madness, and we'll talk about the games next week for sure. Like really pinpoint the games, and we'll kind of like revamp our bracket and be like, oh, these teams are left. Out of the teams that are left, who do you think is going to make it like to the finals or something like that? Because it's like half the picks we made are going to be wrong.
Nah, we'll be coming back saying that we're perfect.
We're still right. Jim, thanks for coming on today's show. It was a pleasure.
Thanks for having me. Yeah, it was a good show.
And for all of those listening to Tony's Takes on YouTube, thanks for tuning in. Please make sure to subscribe to the show and double-click the notification bell. That way you get notified every time we go live. Of course, if you have any takes or questions that you want read on the show or answered on the show, email them to tonystakes.1851@gmail.com. Also, follow us on Twitter @Tonys_takes. And finally, if you're listening to this on Apple Podcasts, which is the recorded version, please make sure to leave a 5-star review and write the review as well. All 5-star written reviews get read on the show. That's a Tony guarantee. Well, for us, all of us here at Tony's Takes, we really do appreciate all of you spending your Thursday night with us. We look forward to seeing everyone here on YouTube next week. This has been Tony's Takes.
The premier sports talk radio, it's Tony's Takes.
Here we go.